Let me be completely honest. My expectations with Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves were very low. Ever since I saw the trailer, I thought it looked just like another blockbuster with Marvel-esque humor. But after walking out of the movie theater, never would I ever imagined that it would be one of the best cinematic experiences since Top Gun Maverick and one of the best fantasy movies that I've ever seen in the last decade. The first thing that I noticed is just how funny the movie is. And it comes as no surprise due to the fact that it's directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, who also directed the brilliant Game Night, an excellent movie that manages to be a comedy inside a David Fincher movie, and that also has one of the best line deliveries in the history of cinema.
Oh no, he died!
But I digress. Just like in that movie, Goldstein and Daley tell a story with lots of humor while playing with the usual tropes of the subject genre. In this particular case, fantasy, and it manages to check all the right boxes for fans of the genre while adding the unpredictability and carefree attitude that is synonymous with the role-playing game that is based on. What sets this film apart from others of its kind are the characters. Each one is well developed and overflowing with charisma. Although Sophia Lillis' character didn't have as much material, I found her performance still enjoyable. And while none of them may win awards for the most original character construction, the chemistry between them is undeniable and their humor is infectious. Especially every scene that Chris Pine and Justice Smith's characters share. Also, their interactions with Regé-Jean Page, character as the Stoic Sank, were just hilarious. I really liked how one character's weakness is another one's strength, and the teamwork it inspires that makes for a pretty enjoyable experience. The villains are also taken seriously in this film, a refreshing change from the usual comedic ridicule they receive in other fantasy or action comedies, starting with Forge, played by Hugh Grant, who's a ruffian with a slightly caricature tone, but Grant's performance is so enjoyable and he clearly is having a great time playing the role, so I just couldn't help but like him. But also, he becomes pretty detestable with this. He's accompanied by an archetypical fantasy villain, the Red Wizard Sophina, played by Daisy Head. While her character could have had better development, she's still a formidable threat to our heroes, and her connection to them makes their final encounter emotionally meaningful. On that note, I'd like to add that it's pretty good to see a movie of this kind that doesn't kill any dramatic tension or emotional moments with lame quips. The film's creative decisions are also noteworthy, particularly in how our heroes manage to escape dangerous situations, which makes it a fresh take to a classic genre. Also, the mix of digital and practical effects create a full immersive fantasy world with distinct environments and creatures. Fans of the game will appreciate the numerous Easter eggs and references to the Dungeons & Dragons lore. However, one of the downsides that I found was that the plot may seem simple and predictable. However, that doesn't necessarily equate to low-quality storytelling. As film critic Roger Ebert once said of Star Wars, the movies that will live forever are the ones that seem simple at first. Taking all of that and combining them with a creative use of cinematography that uses long takes and dynamic camera movements, it definitely stood out for me. The film themes are far from mystic. Love, loss, friendship, and bravery are effectively presented, particularly through the character of Simon the Wizard, who delivers a message about embracing our uniqueness and having the confidence to trust ourselves. Daley and Goldstein insert fun and emotion into the film, but also subtle commentary about embracing one's flaws and never giving up. The whole thing reminded me of action and fantasy movies of the 1980s, movies that had lots of fun and lots of heart. It doesn't matter if you never rolled a d20, if you're a level 37 dungeon master, or if your only taste of fantasy is Game of Thrones. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is an excellent movie with a heartfelt story, lovable characters, stunning visual effects, and a center filled with fun that I bet will make this film a modern fantasy classic. Now I want to hear your thoughts on the movie, so drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.